IVM.
Hi,
You're
listening to IVM.
daily.
Hi guys, my name is Jaanam. You're listening to IVM Daily. Today on the episode, I have with me in the studio Abbas, Momin.
Hi.
So IVM Daily is a daily show where we talk about things that are going on in the world or things that are going on in our minds. And today we are talking about a rather serious topic. It's about coping with loss.
That's right.
how-
I think a couple of episodes ago, or I think more than one episodes, we have talked about or touched upon growing older
Yeah.
and how we go
Death
through
is
life.
inevitable.
Wow, thanks for cutting straight to the point, Janam. But I think one of the key aspects of growing older is also learning how to cope with loss in a physical sense and also in an emotional sense.
Right.
We might try to sugarcoat it as much as we can, but the fact is that as we grow older, people who we grew up around are going to slowly pass away. And so we've been talking in the office and we realized that more than one person has experienced loss in the office amongst us. So we thought we should talk about this. So what have your experiences been with loss
With
and
loss?
coping with loss? Yeah.
So I have lost someone very close to me. I was immediately after I finished my 10th, my
Right.
father passed away.
Okay.
And we knew he was diagnosed with cancer when my prelims were on.
Okay.
So it definitely impacted my studies. As
Studies,
it is, I
yeah.
wasn't very academic and studious. And
Okay.
it just, impacted a little more. And it was a very difficult time for all of us, the whole family. And
How old were you at this point?
I was 14,
Okay.
15.
It's pretty young.
Yeah, so I didn't even understand what death exactly is, and the kind of permanence death comes
Right.
with. You don't realize, like, while it was happening, you were like, oh shit, and he was in the third stage of cancer, and we obviously we had hopes that he will survive, but in a matter of 6 months, he passed away, and it's been very difficult coping with it. I would say for about 7 to 8 years after that, this was in 2007, so about 7-8 years after that, I would have recurring dreams about him coming back to life. So actually my father was he was a supervisor with Air India,
Okay.
and so his job was basically obviously going on flights and coming back. So most of the time he wasn't with us. We didn't spend that much time with him. He would be at home for 2-3 days and then out for 10-15 days. So the dreams I would have were, he would come back like from his flight and he wasn't actually gone. He wasn't dead.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the dreams I
he was
used to
just
have.
away.
Yeah, so it was very difficult to just accept the fact that he was gone for so many years. And even today, it's this year is going to be about 11 years. And it's still so difficult.
Right.
Yeah.
So, according to you, grieving and coping with it is a long drawn process, especially if
is.
it's someone like a
A
parent.
yeah, it's extremely difficult.
Right.
Like,
In my case, in the last about 2.5 years, I've lost a lot of my aunts and uncles
Okay.
from both my dad's side and my mother's side, and especially one of my mother's sister-in-law,
Okay.
who was actually as close to her as her real sister.
Okay.
She passed away, and the thing with when people are in your family pass away, it's like you've grown up among them,
Yeah.
with them. So whatever vision of the future you have, they're always present in them, because
Exactly.
you can't
Imagine a future without them.
And
Yeah.
when they're not there, you realize that there will be more milestones in my life in the future where they won't be there.
Yeah.
And that breaks your heart, because
completely.
you're like,
It's shattering, man. It
exactly.
is.
If you reach an achievement, or if you
Yeah.
do something, they're not there to witness that.
Like I'll completely agree with you, because there are times when I'm actually celebrating happy moments, but deep down I'm actually sad because my
Right.
father's not there to witness it. So
Yeah.
it's a very, even if I'm having the most happiest moment of my life, it's a very mixed feeling.
Exactly.
So
And in my aunt's case, again, even I had dreams about her being. I remember this one particular dream. I don't know if it was symbolic or what. After she passed away, that we were in a train. Me, my mother, my sister, and her. We were all in a train.
Okay.
And this was a long distance train because we often used to travel to Lucknow with her because that's where she was from. And we are going somewhere, and the train stops, so, and me, my sister, and my mother are at the door about to get off, and I turn back and I see that my aunt is still sitting where she is, looking out the window, and I woke up. So I remember that. And last year, my father had a brain hemorrhage. Thankfully, everything worked out. Now he's recovering well. But when that happened, again, it was like a rude awakening that things you take for granted, and nothing is permanent. Things will change in an instant, overnight, literally, when something like this happens. So, I mean, in my case, I was lucky that my dad is on a way to recovery, but I can only imagine how it was with you.
yeah, so I haven't said this in public before, but I didn't only lose my father. 5 years later, like, my mom met another man, and he was part of the family. So they weren't married, but he was like a stepfather. Okay. And he passed away last year, just like a few months before I took up this job.
I see.
So it was like too much, you're just getting over the loss of your father, and then it's like
another thing happens.
Yeah, and he stayed with us for 5 years. He was with us, and it was just too much to take in. Yeah.
So what I've experienced is in moments like those. You just take each day as it comes because there's nothing more you can do. Your vision, you don't think of a faraway future when you experience a sudden loss.
Yeah.
And you try and find respite. Like, I'll give you again my example. When my dad was in the hospital, I took respite in the smallest of things, like looking at the break of dawn from the window of the hospital, because it almost gave the feeling of, yes, all of this is happening, but there's still life still goes on, and there are people still out there. Nature is doing its thing.
Yeah.
So that was my small respite. What about you?
For me, it was in 2016, I went for a 10-day Vipassana program, and the meditation there actually helped me a lot. It helped me to come to terms with what I had dealt with in the last 10 years. Yeah. So it helped me realize how I was damaging myself in the past, mentally and emotionally, and how it helped me heal.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, was there any person, friend or relative that you would turn to in such times, or was it you looking internally to cope with the loss? So
during the meditation, you're all on your own.
Right,
so it was all internal. But there have been times throughout these, whatever, when I'm at home and, the sudden breakdowns happen, I usually turn to my sister, because we understand each other best, because we've lost the same person.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, so it's usually my sister I turn to.
Okay. In my case, I would, I'm not a very extroverted person, and I'm
Neither am I,
not so, I couldn't think of one person or people who I could turn to. So for me, it was more of an internal journey to sort of tell myself that it's going to be okay, that you have to take each day as it comes and somehow plow through. And if someone's listening to this who has experienced this or is experiencing this, I would also give the same sort of advice, that you just have to have faith and power through the difficult times, and trust me, as you go along, it gets easier. And
no, actually, I would not agree
you
with
would not
that.
Agree with? Okay.
Yeah, I would say that as you go along life, it actually gets tougher.
Okay.
And the tough times make you tougher.
You learn to deal with it.
Yeah,
in a more in a better way, I'd say. Also, is there any sense of guilt when you do feel like you've moved on, or you reached a place where you're like, I'm okay now? Do you feel like, oh, I shouldn't be feeling okay?
Sometimes, yes. But more than the guilt, I always have this thought that imagining how life would be had the person not passed away. So like all the good or bad things, whatever that has led me to this moment, I know that I wouldn't be here had my dad not passed away. So it's like, is it a good thing I'm here? Is it a bad thing? So that those thoughts are always there.
Right. That makes sense. For me, I think I do not feel guilty, because I think you've worked on yourself if you have gotten over the grief. And you shouldn't really, there shouldn't be any seed of, oh no, I should still be feeling sad, because you felt sad. You powered through that grief, and now you're in a place where you haven't forgotten the person you've lost.
Yeah.
But you've come to terms with the fact that, yeah, they're not, they will always be with me, but just not physically around, and I moved on and I'm okay with that. So I think one should feel proud, or one should feel okay with the fact that they've moved on and they felt the grief, they put it behind, and now they're moving on. So anything else you want to add before we wrap up, Jaanam?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that whether you have lost someone or not, eventually life will, you will lose people around you. So just, I wouldn't say be ready for that, because the situation itself, when you're in it, it will make you ready. But yeah, just know that it is going to happen, and stay strong and don't take people around you for granted. Definitely.
True, I agree with that. Nothing can really prepare you for loss, but in the event that it happens, know that it's just a phase, and you will go beyond it and be stronger and a better person.
You will rise from the flames.
Exactly, like the phoenix. All right, so that's all that we have today on IVM Daily. If you have a story, profound story that you'd want to share with us, how you got over your loss in your life, we'd love to hear it. Use the hashtag IVM Daily on Twitter to tell us that. You can follow IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. We are IVM Podcasts everywhere. My name is Abbas Momin. You can follow me on Twitter at Abbas Momin and Instagram at Abbas Momin88. Jaanam, where can one follow you?
You can reach out to me on Twitter at @Jaanam Devan.
Alright, so that was all from IVM Daily. Stay tuned for the next episode, and we'll see you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
He bends down to test the warm water for his bath. He comes here to quench his thirst for a hot shower and some podcasts. You can witness how he enjoys having other people talk about cool stuff in his bathroom. Indeed, it helps him with his loneliness. You can find more of his species on ivmpodcast.com, your one-stop destination where you can check out the coolest Indian podcasts. Happy listening.